Hi guys! Okay, so today we're going to be making medicine from mushrooms, and the first step is to soak them in grain alcohol or Everclear or whatever you can get that is as close to 200 proof as possible. This is 190 proof, which is the strongest that I can get in the liquor store. So that's what I'm going to be using. We're doing a couple of different mushrooms today. The first one we're going to start with is our maitake, or hen of the woods. I have a bunch of different specimens here in front of me, and this is what I would describe as the least desirable from a culinary perspective. It's the oldest one of the bunch, and it's also a little sun-bleached, but it's perfectly fine to make medicine with. Whether it dries in your apartment a little bit or it dries out in the woods, the medicine is still inside the mushroom. So how we make this into medicine is we just start peeling the little feathers off of the outside, and you want as much surface area as you can. I like to see which one is still in here, so I don't like pulverize them before I put them in, but I do rip them up pretty finely. And they're gonna soak in the alcohol for quite some time, at least 2 weeks, but longer is perfectly fine too. They're not gonna go bad. I usually do between 4 and 8 for mine. And this is something that I take every day. I take a mixture of all of my mushroom tinctures every day. This is medicine that I make myself, for myself. And I go out and pick all these mushrooms in the forest. I think it's really nice that I can do this, and it's a great way to connect you with your body and your medicine, and to understand where it comes from and how it was made for such a long period of time before we stopped doing this. Because this is not like the medicine that we take today. This is more preventative than curative. Not that the mushrooms don't have curative properties. Many of them interact with specific organ systems in the body. Like the turkey tail is really good for the digestive system. Maitake is really good overall. I was reading somewhere recently, though, that they had been doing some trials on the pancreas with it, and that was kind of cool, because I don't really know of a mushroom specifically for pancreatic support. I mean, the pancreas is part of the digestive system because it releases, insulin and digestive hormones. So it does get some support that way, I would think, from the turkey tails. But I don't know. I also have another mushroom that's not here in front of us right now that I'm going to be looking into, and that's the maize polypore. Something about that mushroom reminds me of a pancreas, and I wonder, form and function sometimes. Maybe that mushroom would be good for maze-like structures in the body. It grows kind of a maze-like structure itself. I don't know, it sounds good. Whether it's true or not, I can't tell you. But more research, more info to come in a later video. So as you can see, this rather large mushroom looks like it's going to fit right in this one jar, if I can get it pinched up small enough. It's been a really nice, wet and not too cold October, so we've been pretty lucky in this part of Connecticut with our mushrooms so far. And I've picked all of this actually here on the countertop with me this week, which is pretty nice. I could always use more mushrooms, because I'll preserve them in a bunch of different ways, and I'll also eat them as part of my regular diet this time of year. Helps cut down on the grocery bill, and it also keeps your food miles low. I don't know if that's something you guys think about, but a lot of our food, especially in this area of America, is not grown here. It's grown elsewhere, and so it has to be shipped from Florida or California or overseas, and that is not great for a number of reasons. One, the cost goes up because I got to ship that all the way from its origin to my grocery store. And two, a lot of that food has to be picked really well before it's actually ripe or at peak freshness, so it doesn't get as much nutrition added as it otherwise could if it had lived its full life and ripened to completion on the plant. Alright, so we're just going to keep tamping this down a little bit. I don't think this whole mushroom is going to fit in here, which is okay, because I think I'm going to have an extra mushroom jar where I just put leftover pieces that didn't fit in the main jar. So this is going to be our maitake jar, and this little bit here we're going to break up and put right in this jar, and I'll put extra, maybe a couple of honey mushrooms, the maize polypore. I didn't get a ton of that, so that'll probably fit in this jar as well. I just love the way these mushrooms smell. Like a nice, damp, moist forest floor. Okay, so this one we decided is full. I'm going to pick up these little bits here on the counter, and a little bit of dirt is fine. It's going to be soaking in alcohol for quite some time, so whatever is in there is definitely not going to survive. So we've got our alcohol here, and we're just going to take a little fun stopper off, because it's not helping us here at all. And you just want to pour in enough alcohol that it covers the mushrooms completely. And so there, that's done. It's going to bubble for a few minutes while the last bits of air escape. And then we seal it. Last bit of air, make sure the mushrooms are still below the level of the alcohol. Cool. Okay, so then you want to label this. Proper labeling practice, please. What it is and the date, so that you remember, because you think to yourself, no, I'll remember what it is, and then it gets stuck in the back of your closet for couple of months, and then you look at it and you say, what the hell was that? I don't remember. So that's why you should label and write clearly. You're only cheating yourself if you rush. Cool. So that one is done. We're going to throw in a couple of honey mushrooms in here, because these are also medicinal. Many of the wild mushrooms, even the ones that are not studied, will have medicinal properties to them. If you think about it like this, the mushrooms grow on trees, and trees are really interesting organisms because they have really good immune systems. They live for a very long time, and they can't run away from anything, so they have to be able to produce their own medicine wherever they're growing, because they can't go out and pick herbs or mushrooms like we can, or go to the doctor or the hospital or whatever. So they have to make all of it themselves, and the mushrooms grow on the trees and feed on the tree, and it's actually a parasite. If you think of it, it is a parasite, and so the mushroom is feeding on the tree is trying to fight off the mushroom is then feeding on the tree's immune system, and you are then feeding on the mushroom, which it's a sort of like a step removed. The way that the cow eats grass, it absorbs the nutrients from the grass and makes it to something that's easier for you as a person to eat, which is why we like beef rather than grass. The mushroom does the same thing for the tree. So that is another reason why they are so beneficial, is they're helping to provide us with some of the immune system from the tree. So the next thing that we're going to do is reishi, and this is some dried reishi that I got earlier in the year, and I've been using it as a teaching demo, which is why it's still dry in the bag like this, and I didn't tincture it already. But I'm going to be tincturing this now. They're nice and dry. You can like crack them in half like that really easily. And they also smell really good. I really like the way dried reishi smells. It smells like springtime, which to me is very fitting because it grows, you know, in the spring, so it should smell like springtime. This is one of the end of spring mushrooms, sort of around Memorial Day. At least Memorial Day in Connecticut is when I pick most of my reishi. But you can find them into the summer, as long as you don't mind them being a little dry or a little bit older when you find them on the tree. All right, so just like we did with the maitake, we're going to fill this jar up with our grain alcohol. Screw the top on. Reishi and today's date. And we just want to make sure that, yep, the mushrooms are all still below the alcohol. Oops, excuse me. Next we have some turkey tail that we're going to do. So these are also dried. I picked them the end of the winter last year and saved them for tincture time, which I usually do in August or September. This year it's October because I was really busy in August and September. Now I have some free time. I still have one jar of my mushroom tincture left, which is fine. So I'll have enough at least to last me to the end of till this batch is ready. Alright, so we can actually fit a little bit more in there. I have some newer turkey tails that I dried. These are from this year, just a few weeks ago. But they're already dried and put away. Sometimes I use them to make medicinal mushroom broth as well. The thing with that is you just can't boil the water or you destroy some of the compounds in the mushrooms. And so a fermentation spring would be great to put on the top as well, just to keep all the mushroom below the level of the alcohol, but I don't have any fermentation springs. It's a little metal spring that Ball sells for mason jars. It fits on the cap and it just compresses the inside right down for you. Alright, so we need another one. Take the fun stopper off real quick. And there we go. Just tap the air bubbles out. Topper off. And lid. And turkey tails. Remember to label. Okay, so why are we doing this in a double extraction? Because I said this is extraction 1, the next extraction we're going to do is water. The reason we're doing it this way is because the mushrooms have water-soluble compounds and alcohol-soluble compounds. The alcohol-soluble compounds need to be removed first, because in order to get the water-soluble ones out, you have to heat them up, and the heat destroys the alcohol-soluble ones. The alcohol will not destroy the water-soluble compounds in here, which is why we're going to reuse these mushrooms again to extract the water-soluble ones when these alcohol tinctures are done soaking. So until then, I'm going to keep these in a closet, and when they're done, you'll see, here's a chicken of the woods that I've been soaking in alcohol for quite some time. You can see the liquid changes color and the mushrooms start to lose some of their vibrancy as the compounds leach into the alcohol. So these are all going to go back in the cabinet for another month or so And then we will post the second half of the video when the next step is ready.